What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
Here we are, guys. Midweek episode. Quick announcement. Chris finally bit the bullet, quit his day job. He is now full-time editing for the Barnhill
Let's
Brothers.
go.
You have asked, and we are answering. We're coming at you twice a week now. We're working on getting Chris a setup so he can be behind the ones and twos and be on camera as well. Today's subject matter, we are talking UFC Qatar, main event, co-main event. We're breaking them down, we're predicting them, and then Nick and I are going to talk about what we think is the best sleeper fight on the card. So stay tuned for that one.
Yep.
So Nick, let's get right into the main event.
Let's go.
Arman Tsarukyan, Dan Hooker.
Yeah.
So a couple of things when you look at breaking this fight down. On paper, it's very favorable for Arman.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of look at the intangibles for Dan Hooker. When you look at strikes absorbed per minute, for example, Dan Hooker is taking almost 5 significant strikes per minute.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing if you're, the guy who's on the receiving end of that, especially with somebody as buttoned up on the defensive side as Arman, because he's only actually absorbing about 2 significant strikes per minute, just a little less. I think he's 1.8 when
That's
I checked
solid.
the stats. So he gets hit very infrequently.
Mm-hmm.
He also is very durable. He has that ability to take you down. He obviously has really, really good wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
And then you couple that with about 6 minutes of total control time per 15-minute fight. So this is a 25-minute fight. So how much control time is he able to get if the fight is to go the distance? Because if you think about a 3-round fight, 6 minutes of control time, if you spread that out across the 3 rounds, you're looking at 2 minutes a round.
Yeah.
So almost half of each round, you're controlling the fight. So what happens on the feet kind of dictates in some ways what happens, as far as how the round is scored.
Right.
But it's very hard to win a round that you were controlled for almost half the round from the bottom position.
Yeah.
That's something that Dan Hooker is going to have to contend with. Dan Hooker is very accurate with striking from a distance, though.
Yes,
so if you
kickboxing
watch him,
range.
he's really good in kickboxing range. So Arman is going to have his work cut out for him to get inside without getting injured, because Dan's got really good knees. He's got really good uppercuts. He does have one strike. I won't say one punch, because a lot of his, really clean work comes from the legs, the kicks, the knees, and stuff like
And
that.
the devastating KOs. Think about like that knee. I think it was Jim Miller. He hit a knee on, and then there was a beautiful head kick knockout. Like, he put some serious force behind those shots.
Yeah, and so when you look at Tsarukyan, who's shorter, when you're coming in, if you're telegraphing it all, throw a kick up like that. So those are the types of intangible things that if you want to, ride with the dog, so to speak, on this one, would make you feel excited to ride with Dan Hooker.
Yeah,
But
it'll give you a good excuse to get up early to watch the UFC card that's taking place like early time for us.
and by the way, guys, 9 a.m. Central. So I don't know what time zone you're on, but that's an early one for us. Make sure you don't wake up and realize you missed the fights.
Yeah, for real.
But for me, it's Arman.
Yeah.
I think Arman Tsarukyan is going to win this fight, and he's going to do it with what he does best, which is great wrestling. I already said he absorbs very few strikes per round.
Yeah.
He needs to keep himself safe at the kickboxing distance. That is the only positioning in this fight that I think Arman is potentially susceptible to losing the fight. And if he were to lose, it would be by one of those signature Dan Hooker kicks, knees, some type of knockout, either at distance or while he's closing the distance. So once we're in boxing range or once we're clinched up, it's all Arman.
Yeah.
So that's going to be his name of the game. What does he need to do to get this fight won? It's to close the distance without getting clipped, and then do what he does best. Ride control time, land good ground and pound, and look for that finish, because 155, yes, it is a very stacked division, and Arman is at the top of the list for people who could potentially fight Ilia Topuria.
Right.
But there's also other people on that list, and people who are bigger fan favorites than Arman. Patty the Batty, Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, things like that. Now, I know Charles lost, so he's way down the pecking order. But suffice it to say, there's more exciting fighters that people would want to see in there with Ilia if you're not one of those purists like we are that wants to see the rankings mean something. So I think Arman is not going to really advance himself all that much if he wins a 5-round sort of boring decision. And I think he knows that. So I'm liking him second or third round TKO from the ground and pound position.
So he's going to come out and try to make a point, huh?
He needs to.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think the only way he truly cements a title shot next is if he goes out there and runs through Dan Hooker. But again, that's a tough task, because Dan Hooker is a very good fighter. He's clearly made it to the top. People were talking about him going to fight Max Holloway for the BMF. So we know we can expect a war. He's very durable. If you're in the BMF talks at all, you're very durable. But when I'm looking at Arman, he obviously has the more clear high percentage path to victory, in that being his grappling and his ability to take somebody down, hold him there. He usually likes to throw some pretty vicious ground and pound, and he's really accurate from the dominant positions. As soon as they start to get a little bit of headway and turn around, he's moving right over to the other side, and he's very good with his ground and pound strikes. So I just think if you have all of the tools he has versus Dan Hooker's tools against a guy like him, which now you got to take kind of submissions out of there, you got to take offensive grappling out of the way. He has one way to win, which is on the feet, but it's not just, he can't just stay on the feet and be complacent. He also has to be able to move backwards and move laterally around the cage, which is dangerous because that's exactly where the cage is.
Yeah.
And if Arman can get him close to the cage, then that graders his chances of getting a takedown. But Dan Hooker also can't stand in the middle and try to trade, or else Arman will time one of his punches, change levels, shoot in, he's going to get him to the ground. So it's a very difficult path for Dan Hooker, in my opinion, to win this fight. If he wins it, I think he does it via TKO, but I just can't bet against Arman. I think he's going to go out there. Now, I do think after what happened at MSG and all the pushback that the half guard body control, side body control got all the flack that it got after Madison Square Garden, I think if Arman Tsarukyan in Qatar isn't moving fast when he's down there and looking to advance, we may see a stand-up, and that could make things very interesting for this fight. I still don't know if it would change the outcome. I was leaning towards Arman decision, but I also think he really knows he's got to get a finish in this fight if he wants to fight for the belt. I'm going Arman Tsarukyan, 4th round, TKO finish.
From the ground and pound position.
Yeah, ground and pound. I think maybe he could even drop Dan Hooker or something if he gets inside with some good boxing. Who knows? Maybe he throws that axe kick, the famous axe kick that he likes to throw, which he gets a pretty good split. I got to call it when I see it. Dude can throw a split pretty well.
The dude's flexible.
Yeah, he's flexible. But I got Arman winning this one.
Good deal. So we're both taking almost essentially the same prediction on that one. I think it just happens a little bit earlier. Co-main event, really interesting. You and I talk about this all the time on the show. Anytime you have an opportunity to audition yourself against a former champion, you have to take advantage 100%. Of it. Carlos Prates just demonstrated that last weekend. He's taking on Leon Edwards, who has fallen on some tough times, but any chance you get to fight a former champion who's relevant, it absolutely puts your career, it springboards it. It gives you that fast track.
And it worked pretty good for Prates, didn't it?
It sure did, yeah. I mean, that was beautiful knockout. Yeah. And so Ian Garry is going to be looking to do something similar to that because 170, let's face it, is incredibly stacked right now. Mm-hmm. This fight is weird to me because I feel like it's a number one contenders fight if Ian Machado Garry wins.
Right.
They're not throwing Belal Muhammad back in a title fight against
how.
Islam Makhachev if he were to get past Ian Garry. Right. So it's kind of a crappy position for Belal Muhammad, if we're being honest. The fight itself is really interesting to me. Ian Garry does have pretty good takedown defense. We saw against Shavkat. Mm-hmm. He's a good grappler. He's a lot longer. He's a lot bigger than Belal. I think this is going to be an uphill battle for Belal Muhammad, especially since it's a 3-round fight.
Yeah. This fight, as far as the X's and O's go, is very interesting because we know Ian Garry is a sniper with his striking. He doesn't get it done with one shot, but he's so good at staying long, controlling the fight and engaging on his own terms. He doesn't really go out there and get in firefights with anybody. As a matter of fact, he won't even get close enough for people to touch him until he knows his defense will be sound when they throw something, or his angles will be off to where they can't really do a lot of damage. And then most importantly, he gets his combinations off quickly, usually throws, 2 punches and a kick or something along those lines. And before the person's able to throw something back, he's already back to managing range. I think Ian Garry's one of the best at that. The ability he showed to beat a guy like Carlos Prates, who has 100 professional fights worth of experience. And he beat him, obviously
pretty squarely.
He beat him pretty squarely. It wasn't that competitive until the end, right? Carlos Prates finally turned it on. Maybe it would have been different if he did that early, but Ian Garry controlled the early parts of that fight and basically shut Prates down. Now, Belal and Prates also couldn't be any further from the same style, right?
Right.
They are polar opposites as far as how they fight. But Belal also is a pretty solid striker. Like, you got to call it how you see it. He might not be the prettiest striker. His certainly not going to look as good on the feet as Ian Garry does, but he's effective with some of his strikes. And I don't know whether it's his just ability to take shots and his durability, but he does tend to get inside on guys, and he finds his good boxing, which usually leads to his wrestling. I don't know how he does it against Ian, because Ian's so good at staying long, and this is a 3-round fight, which definitely favors Ian in my opinion. Yeah. But if Belal can hurt him with some strikes, which we've seen Ian in his flow get cracked a time or two, if he can do that, I believe he can start to put the Belal pressure on Ian and have Ian, instead of evading and moving laterally, feel like he's getting run down. So yeah. I think Belal does have a shot in this. Obviously, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove that he's not a one-and-done type of champ, and he's going to make it to the top and then leave just as fast as he got there. Like, I think he does want to be a thorn in the side to many welterweights coming up through the ranks. But Ian Garry, to me, he knows how to win rounds. He knows how to control the range, and he knows it's very important to engage on your own terms. I've got Ian Garry winning this one by decision. I want to get my picks right this week, because last week at MSG, I was on the main card. I was 1-4. So I'm trying to go
4-1. So
there you go.
There we go.
Somebody wins.
Yeah. So I like everything you said there. My prediction for this fight is Ian Garry, clear-cut 30-27 unanimous decision victory. Belal Muhammad averages, 5 minutes plus of ground control time per fight. But I also, and I know MMA math never works. You go back and you look, okay, he fought and lost his belt to Jack Della Maddalena. Look how easily Jack was taken down by Islam. Now, I understand there are two different types of grapplers, but I believe that Ian Garry, after the Shavkat fight, is a superior anti-wrestler, let's just put it, than Jack Della Maddalena. Yeah. So I don't think that if Belal couldn't really have much success on the wrestling initiative with Jack, that he's going to be able to do it with Ian. Yeah. So what does that leave you with? A stand-up fight against a tall, very skilled, very accurate striker. And I think Ian, he has the higher finish rate. He's got the more the active output. He's going to be landing more shots. The variety is going to be bigger. Belal's a durable guy. The only thing I really see to Belal's advantage here is the experience. I mean, he's been in there in title fights. He's been in there with better cream of the crop sort of competition. But again, I go back to the Shavkat fight, and Shavkat, I do consider him to be an elite level fighter, even though he's never touched the belt. And Ian did pretty good against him. He lost the fight, but he did pretty good.
Hey, he showed some weaknesses in Shavkat's game, which up until that point, we hadn't really seen any.
Well, we had never seen him win by decision.
Right, yeah. I mean, literally the stats prove it. And I really think Ian Garry, his ability to control this fight and fight exactly how he's been fighting in the UFC and winning, that is going to play a factor, because Belal Muhammad will have to change a few things about his game if he wants to beat Ian Garry. I don't know how much Ian has to change out of his current game plan that's been working time and time again to win this fight.
One thing before we move on to the fight that we both think could be the sleeper best fight of the night.
Best matchup.
There was something about, and it's been bothering me sitting here, about the Tsarukyan Hooker fight that I wanted to mention, and I couldn't remember what it was at the time. It just hit me. Arman Tsarukyan, I saw on social media today, said that he's going to beat Dan Hooker so easily that he could even come back in January and be on that first Paramount card.
Is that right?
And fight Ilia Topuria. So my question is, obviously, he's trying to do some things to get some headlines. Is he potentially overlooking Dan Hooker? And could that be the thorn that ends up being it? So I think stylistically, Arman's got his number. Yeah. But if he's overlooking Hooker, that could be a mistake.
That could be a big mistake. And, sometimes it does feel that way, especially when you go, I want to book a fight for 2 months later. I don't even think I should be in the cage with this guy. I should be fighting Ilia. I certainly wouldn't look past Dan Hooker if I was him. Obviously, he knows the threat ahead of him. But, yeah, you do start to wonder, and that kind of makes me think your prediction may be more correct, because I do see Arman winning this fight. And if he's able to win this fight, I think he's going to try to do it intensely. Look at the champion of the division right now. How is he winning all of his fights? Brutal knockouts, and it's not taking a whole lot of time to get him. So if he wants to fight Ilia, he needs to go out there and fight like the guys there's a group of people he wants to be fighting. Islam, because he wanted that get back after he lost the first time they fought. and then that fell through. Ilia. But this is a very high-level group of guys, and they are finishing almost everybody. I mean, Islam didn't finish Jack, but that was total domination. And then if you look at his record, before the Jack fight, before he moved up to 70, it's nothing but just great finishes.
Yeah, I think Islam was like 4 first-round finishes in his last 8 fights. So, I mean,
crazy.
Anybody that says Islam Makhachev's a boring fighter, I mean, I get it. The last title fight wasn't what everybody wanted to see. It wasn't what we saw with Pereira versus Ankalaev rematch.
Somebody commented on the video, and props to you. They said Islam versus Volk, fire. Islam versus Poirier, fire. Islam versus everybody was fire. And then Jack, it wasn't fire.
Yeah.
And they go, so what's the common denominator? It's not Islam's in fun fights all the time. And yes, of course, he had some great opponents that were also willing to oblige. But Islam's not a boring fighter.
No, not at all. So let's talk about 2 people that are also not boring fighters. What we think could be the people's main event, the most skill on display potentially. That is Begzat Almakhan versus Alexandre Topuria.
I love it.
And so anytime we're getting a Topuria on the card, I'm excited for it.
Oh, yeah.
And Alexandre is, in a lot of ways, Ilia's right-hand guy. He's the older brother.
Yeah.
And so he's the one that kind of brought his younger brother into the sport. It has a coaching capacity with Ilia. That, I believe, is more his focus than his competing.
Yeah.
But don't get it twisted. This guy's good. And these 2 guys have a combined total of 3 fights in the UFC. So Begzat has 2 and Topuria has 1. Begzat made his debut against Umar Nurmagomedov.
What a welcome for the guy.
Dropped him in the first round. So,
right?
I mean, both of these guys, talk about a tough welcoming to the UFC when 2 of your first 3 opponents are Topuria's older brother and Umar Nurmagomedov.
Crazy. And I'm going to steal a line. I think it was John Anik that said a few weeks ago about my friend Yadier Del Valle, called him a blue chip prospect.
Yeah.
This is the best blue chip prospect versus blue chip prospect fight the UFC's had at Bantamweight in quite some time. People were talking about Sugar Sean, how he kind of eased his way into the big names. Begzat Almakhan draws right into Umar Nurmagomedov, and now the top 3 biggest names in the entire sport are Topuria. He's in the top 3, any way you want to slice it. And now you're fighting a guy who's basically mini Ilia. If you watch Alexandre fight, he fights in the same rhythm. He has the same style, and I'm almost confident in saying he's probably just as good as his brother, because when you have a younger brother, I'm the younger brother. You brought me into the gym, and for a long time, we were just training partners. We would go together every day, and you grow together.
Much like the Topuria brothers, you have far surpassed me.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. But either way, Big Brother always still wins. But I think Alexandre having Ilia as a training partner, primarily from the time they were kids doing Greco-Roman and everything they were doing to now, you've probably got an absolute monster on your hands. And I mean, we've seen the suplex he hit in his UFC debut. Beautiful. Some of the clean striking he was landing in that fight. Same fight. I think it was against a guy named Thickness. His last name is Thickness.
I say Thick and Easy. Who knows how you actually
Thickness,
say that?
Yeah. Thickness is Mackenzie Dern's
He hit him with some thickness, yeah.
But no, either way, I think this fight is as high level as you're going to see on this card. And it's very interesting because I see both of these guys as for sure staples at the 135 division. And it's not going to take very long because we know how skilled they are, but also the high profile of Alexandre being Ilia's brother and Begzat fighting Umar in his first fight. So yeah, I mean, they threw him in the deepest of waters, and he proved he can swim just fine. I mean, Umar Nurmagomedov beats everybody in the division that's not Merab.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive.
And he's competitive against Merab.
Competitive, and nobody's ever heard of him, and he's just this guy out of nowhere. But I really think he's a promising guy. If we're going to give predictions, I don't know how this is going to go because I haven't seen enough from either guy. It feels like it's either going to be Alexandre Topuria by KO, but again, Begzat, he dealt with Umar well. And even though he was held on the ground for the majority of the fight after he dropped him, he's still a durable guy. He's very smart. His fight IQ is high. So I got to go decision again on this one, and I'm going to go... I'm going to go Begzat Almakhan.
Begzat Almakhan by decision.
I'm going to go decision, yeah.
So I think the no knockout from Topuria was a good call because he actually, believe it or not, he's got great striking.
Yeah.
But unlike Ilia, he doesn't have any knockouts to his name.
Well, early in Ilia's career, wasn't he primarily a submission?
He was
ace?
a submission guy. So maybe the Topuria brothers just, crank up the
They
knockouts
sandbag.
as the career goes.
They sandbag. They're like, oh, don't worry, we're just a bunch of grapplers over here, and they submit like 5 or 6 people. Then they get in the UFC
and then they
just start
knock your block off.
Everybody. Yeah.
That's maybe they are sandbagging.
Pretty cool.
So Ilia Topuria's brother Alexandre,
The Conquistador.
100% takedown defense.
There you go.
He can't be taken down. Will Beksat even try to take him down? I don't think so. I don't think
You know what? That might even make this fight more interesting because this is going to be a stand-up fight.
Oh, this is a stand-up fight.
Yeah, because Beksat's striking is very good. His kicks, he's very quick with how he throws, almost like karate-style kicks. His hands appear to be very good. Head movement solid. Alexandre, like I said, he's mini Ilia. He moves just like him. If you study Ilia, you've studied Alexandre. Obviously, he's going to have some more of his own flair to it, but I think Beksat may benefit from watching footage of both Alexandre and Ilia.
Yeah, well, there's certainly more out there on Ilia. Yeah. But I think Beksat Almakhan, 50% finish rate, which for a lower weight class is pretty high.
Yeah.
Very, very high knockdown rate. He's getting multiple knockdowns on average per fight. Mm-hmm. He does have an Achilles heel a little bit. He doesn't defend the takedown that well.
Right.
I think Beksat truly, it looks like a 125er to me.
Yeah.
That's competing at 135. And so I think Topuria, he's a pretty full-framed 35.
Yeah.
So I kind of like Topuria in this fight because I think he's going to be able to contend with Beksat on the feet. I don't really worry too much about the knockout. I think Topuria is very defensively sound.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be able to kind of be the aggressor. I think Beksat's going to be on the outside of the cage. I just kind of picture this fight with Topuria being the aggressor, kind of like his brother, feinting, landing good strikes.
Yeah.
I think we do see some engagement in the clinch. I think we see some body locks. I think we see some time on the ground. Yeah. And I think Alexandre Topuria is going to be able to win enough of those positions to win the fight by decision. I also like decision, but I like 29-28 for Alexandre Topuria. Beksat Almakhan's going to go 1-2 at his first 3, but I still think he could be a future champion one day. That's how hot of a prospect I think this guy is. His strength of schedule is absurd for somebody who's in his 3rd UFC fight.
Yeah, and it shows how stacked 135 is. You make a great point. I'll leave it at this. I think that you're right in the sense that Beksat could get taken down, but I don't think he's going to take Topuria down. Now, Topuria, obviously, fighting like his brother, likes to get inside and throw heavy hands. That's the way he seems to do his most offense on the feet. Beksat likes to throw these kicks. So if it's a battle of range early on and Beksat's controlling at kickboxing range, look for him to time one of those kicks, catch it, and then close distance that way. We might see Topuria use a little bit more of that famous grappling they're known for, and we'll see what happens.
So you're sticking with Beksat?
I'm going to stick with my pick, but I'm feeling slightly less confident after you made your case.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and for those of you that made it to the end, as I said in the beginning, Chris is now the full-time editor for the Barnhill Brothers.
Let's go.
That could not have been possible without all of your support throughout the years. I think we've been doing this like 6 years now, and we've just gotten to the point where we're making enough across all platforms to bring him over as our full-time editor. So look for the content quantity to increase as well as the quality, and look for Chris on camera on a video near you soon.
Yeah, guys, it means the world to us. Help us get to 15K here, and we appreciate everybody that followed on TikTok. We just hit 30K on TikTok. One of those videos is going crazy, so check it out.